So how do you know what to write on your website so people actually hire you?
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue. It is something you are.
I remember when I was building my website, my own website, and I had no idea what to write on my website. I mean, I thought what I wrote was freaking brilliant. I was like, dang, Benji's smart. My goodness. I thought I was brilliant with what I was writing on my first websites, but eventually I realized, like, dang, what the heck, this is dumb. And so you got to realize that what you write on your website can determine whether or not people actually want to do business with you. And so how do you know what to write on your website? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now. So knowing what to write on your website is essentially just copywriting. So if you study copywriting, it's going to really help you a lot. And so here's an example, actually. So someone who recently joined the Speak Pro Academy, she sent me an email and she told me her story. Basically, she was in prison. Now she's a speaker. And so she had keynote speaker on her website. She might have had that on there because she followed what I was doing, and she noticed that I have keynote speaker on my website, or keynote infotainer. And so I tend to tell speakers, like, hey, just make it very simple. But this was an exception because she went to prison, she had a story, and so now she's a speaker. So I told her to essentially say, she can say a couple different things. She could say, like, oh, from prison to powerhouse presenter. So that could be like her tagline, from prison to powerhouse presenter, and that kind of creates curiosity. Or if she was talking to a sales team, she could say something like, she survived prison, she'll eat your sales team up. And a lot of sales teams love this, and sales managers, because their salespeople are really aggressive, and it's like, all right, just go, go, go. And so if you come in with a very lame type of message, like, oh, butterflies, and we're going to help your sales team improve their butterfly energy essence, well, they're going to look at you like you're a dummy. So I thought, like, man, okay, saying something like she survived prison, so she's going to eat your sales team up. Well, the sales manager is going to be like, oh, this could be good. So saying things like that on your website could really change how people respond to your website. So what you do in order to figure out what to write on your website, first off, don't copy me. And I notice a lot of guys do that. They just go to my website and be like, oh, he wrote this, I'm going to write this too. And what they find is that it doesn't help them at all, like 0%. You can copy everything on my website, but it doesn't help you one bit, because the website is 1% of how a business is run. It's 1% of how business actually works. And so the way you figure out what to write on your website is you essentially, whatever you speak on, if you speak on sales, leadership, motivation, whatever you speak on, you need to read books and articles about that specific topic so you know how people talk about that topic. So for example, just like how I said with the sales type of speakers, if you read what people write in terms of the sales industry and how they write it and how they talk about everyone else, to where they're like, man, we're the sales team, we run this business. If it wasn't for us, you guys wouldn't have a freaking business. And if you look at salespeople, then you'll notice that they kind of have this Wolf of Wall Street type of aggression in them. And so you basically, because you read all that, you know how to write in terms of communicating that to people on your website. And so what I would do in terms, I actually have a website just for sales presentations. So what I did is I read a lot of sales management books, because the sales managers are the ones that are going to hire you. So I read a lot of sales management books. I looked to see what problems they're having. And so a lot of sales managers in the books, they talk about just inspiring their sales teams, putting the right tools in place, how to get people what they need to be successful. So they say things like that inside of these books. So I know, okay, let me say that type of stuff on the website. If you're a leadership speaker, you can actually, you want to really watch interviews. If you're a leadership speaker, watch interviews with real leaders, not read the books, because the books are by people who just have theory. And they're just like, oh, let's just talk about theory of leadership, where if you actually listen to real leaders, real interviews with real CEOs, then you'll start to see that these guys have problems like Mark Zuckerberg. I saw an interview with Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, and they were talking about hiring. You're also talking about like work visas and how it's hard to bring someone in, like a really talented person into the U.S. because the way they got it all set up and stuff like that. So they were talking about that. So okay, I'll talk about that on my website. And also when I talked with Aflac, when I was doing a presentation with Aflac, I actually asked him like, oh, so what kind of problems do you guys have? Like, what are you thinking about all the time? And his big problem, the problem that a lot of the higher up people have, is in terms of regulations and legislation. Because at that level, the government can just pass laws and it just shuts down your business pretty much. And so it just makes it a million times harder for your business. Like what happened with Uber, what happened with Tesla. They passed regulations and it just made it a million times harder. So me knowing this as a leadership speaker, I start talking about that on my website. So this is how you essentially learn what to write on your website. You also learn what to write on your website by going to a website like Amazon and just paying attention to what people write in the reviews and how they talk in the reviews about this specific topic. So if I'm looking at a sales book and I see that, oh, they're talking about, oh, I wish this book would have said this more. I wish this book would have had this. Oh, I love this about the book. Well, now you can include that on your website. So the way you know what to talk about is to shut up your mouth, shut your trap, and listen to other people. And you just want to do this in general, really, because you know what you know. You already know everything that's inside of your head. So just shut up and listen to other people. Pay attention to what other people are saying so you can use that information for your own business. And so the greatest marketers of all time are usually the best listeners. They're the ones who tend to really read comments. They're the ones who go on Amazon and like read the reviews. They're the ones who pay close attention to how people respond. They're great listeners instead of just talkers. And if you want to make this really freaking easy, join the Speak Pro Academy because I have all this copywriting text that you can use. I thought to myself, okay, some people aren't just good at copywriting or they don't want to study it. So let me just include all of this text that people can just put on their website and it just freaking works like magic. And so I included that in the Speak Pro Academy. If you need any copywriting text for your website, hey, if you need a freaking website, it's in there as well. But the way you essentially know what to say on your website is to really just sit down and just listen. Listen to the people in your industry. Listen, read the books, read the articles, read the comments. Just listen. That's how you know what to write on your website. That's how you get people saying, oh, let's hire this guy. He's the most amazing in the world. True story.